Hi, welcome to How to Repair. Today we're working on Hotpoint, Indesit, Ariston and Whirlpool cooker hoods. I'm going to go through a process of checking the appliance for any fault, show you how to change components like filters, light bulbs, light bulb fittings, PCBs, and also how to test the motor. In the video we'll go through the different types of bulbs that you may have in your cooker hood, because some cooker hoods have 240 volt bulbs or 220 to 240 volt bulbs. Other cooker hoods have low voltage bulbs. This means that you have a transformer in the appliance which changes the voltage for the bulbs, and we'll go through the process of checking the bulb, checking the fitting, and also checking the transformer to find out where the fault is on your cooker hood. We will also go through how to test the motor and how to make sure that the printed circuit board is running correctly. Now, if one of your lights are not working, then you are normally able to change the bulbs on these. So the first thing we need to do is, before doing any work on the appliance, not only should you disconnect it from the electricity supply, you need to find your model number. Now, the model number is normally not written on the outside chassis of the cabinet. It's normally tucked inside behind the filters where the motor is. So before ever working on the appliance, make sure you turn the lights off, then disconnect the appliance from the electrical supply completely. If you press the metal filter button, the metal filter will come away. I'll just quickly explain about these metal filters. They are washable, but I do not recommend washing them in a dishwasher, because some of the filters are stainless steel and some are aluminium. And if you use any caustic type chemicals to clean the aluminium, if it's aluminium, it will discolor. So it's always worth cleaning these just in a bowl of hot soapy water and let the grease dissolve that way. And you can use a soft scouring brush just to agitate the actual grease that builds up on them. But I do not recommend putting them into the dishwasher. Now, if you are using the cooker hood on an external wall where you're ducting the air straight out of the kitchen, then you wouldn't be using a carbonized filter. If you're recirculating the air in the house, then you would be using a carbonized filter. Now, the model number is normally up on the chassis or behind this carbonized filter. So you need to remove the carbonized filter, and then on the wall on either side will be the full model number for the appliance. And as you can see here, the identification plate is up here, and you need the full model number on Hotpoint, Indesit, Ariston and Whirlpool appliances before ordering any parts. That's the most important thing to find before you do any work on your appliance. Now, to replace a bulb, it's quite easy. You're going to need a small screwdriver, and be very, very careful, because these glass covers are actually very fragile. The whole light fitting is available. You can follow the links in this tutorial, and you can also follow the links for the bulb. Now, this bulb is a 12 volt 20 watt, and the holders are not meant to have any higher wattage on them because it generates too much heat, because they're halogen bulbs. So you'll see 3 points on the light fitting, and if you get a screwdriver, little screwdriver, and just prise the fitting down and go round gently, just prising each clip out. And I can't emphasize how careful you need to be with these, because I have been doing this for many, many years, and I have still broken many a glass. And then the glass will come out with the actual retaining band. And sometimes you may have bent the band, so you need to straighten this before reinserting it. Here is the bulb. Now, as you can see, it does stipulate the wattage and the bulb type in the holder on this model of cooker. But the most important thing whenever touching any halogen bulb is never touch it with your fingers. Your fingers have grease on them, and because it's a halogen bulb, the grease can cause hot spots on the bulb, which will make the bulb blow much quicker. So just use a piece of paper, because this bulb is in good condition and I'm only showing you how to replace it. Just grab hold of the bulb, and the bulb itself has to come backwards from where you can see the fitting. So we'll just put our fingers in there, carefully just give it a wriggle, and you can see the two pins here that actually slot into the holder. Now it's very important that you have your appliance disconnected from the electricity supply when doing this, because if you don't do it correctly you could create a short which would blow your transformer or maybe even trip the RCD supply in the house. So to insert the new bulb, you just have to go in, line it up with the two holes, and make sure you're going in straight. Don't force it, it should just be a soft push, and then the bulb is in. Now before inserting the glass back on, I suggest you plug the appliance back into the electrical supply and do a check on the bulb. This will save you a lot of time to make sure it's in the holder correctly. Now when inserting the glass, I suggest you give it a clean with the cloth just to make sure you haven't got any fingerprints on it, and just carefully line up the holes. Put all three into the correct position and then just push it and it clips up in place. As I said, the carbonized filters, the grease filter, the bulb and the bulb holder, I have put a link in the description on this video that will take you through to the web page on this model of machine, which will show you all the correct parts for the appliance. If you do have a different model to your cooker hood, just enter the model number in the search at the website or contact us via the contact us page on the website. Now, if you still have no power coming to the light bulb, in other words, the light is not coming on when you turn the switch on, you may have a problem with either the bulb holder or the transformer, and what we'll look at next is how to gain access to this bulb and the transformer. Now, to gain access to these, sometimes the chimney itself needs to come off, sometimes the glass needs to come off, or the bottom panel needs to come off, and it will vary from cooker hood to cooker hood. So sometimes you may, if you have the capability, it may be better to take the appliance off the wall so you can get the appliance onto a workbench to work on it. But the cooker hood chimney normally is clipped on with some clips or screws at the back, and the chimney itself lifts away. The chimney is only a piece of stainless steel to imitate a chimney. Now behind here we have a transformer at the top, and I think I'm going to take this cooker hood off the wall for you so I can show you how it comes apart. Now to take the cooker hood off the wall, sometimes there are screws inserted in here depending on the person that's fitted your cooker hood, and there are also two screws at the top which hold the cooker hood frame which it hangs on. You will need to understand how it is fitted to your wall to take it off. It is possible to work on it in location. Now, if you need to work on it in location, there are 4 screws at the top of this cooker hood that hold the glass in place. And I'm just quickly, before I take the appliance down, I'm going to remove the glass so I can show you how easy it is to gain access if you want to work on it in location. So at the top here, we have 4 screws. Now, as you can see here, there is a screw at the back on the right hand side, a screw here at the front, and on the other side of the cooker hood there are 2 screws. And at the top here, this is the transformer that I was telling you about. So I'm quickly just going to undo these 4 screws while it's in location. They're quite well made, these Hotpoint, Indesit and Ariston cooker hoods. They are quite simple to take apart compared to some of the other manufacturers. I did a video last week on a Bosch which was much more complicated to take apart. Make sure you support the glass when undoing the screws. Take the 4 screws out, then the glass comes forward and away. And by removing this before you start taking it apart, you are going to protect the glass, which will, you know, they are very fragile, and I'd hate you to damage your cooker hood glass. Right, before I go any further, just to show you this on the wall, you've got the transformer up here that sends the lighting power down to the junction boxes on the two lamp holders. You will be able to test the voltage coming out of the transformer on each individual bulb when we take it down. Then you've got the printed circuit board, which we'll be able to take out, and I'll be able to show you how the circuit board works. And then once we've got it down, we'll also be able to do some tests on the motor to make sure, if you do have a problem with your cooker hood motor, that the motor circuit is all good and where the problem lies. Okay, so once you've actually loosened all the screws for the cooker hood, and it's only supported on the two top ones, and the glass is off, which does make it lighter and easier, you can just lift this up, pull it away from the wall, and now we can put it down here to work on. Sometimes you would have to work in location because people have tiled around the cooker hood. Okay, so here we have the cooker hood, and I'll just turn the power off to start with. Firstly, the two light fittings. If you need to replace a light fitting, just unclip the connection, and then there's two buttons either side of the lamp fitting itself. If you press these in, and you will need to press them quite tightly and push downwards, you're able to take out the whole fitting. And as you can see, if I bring this close up to the camera, they have a maximum wattage 20 volt. It's a G4 12 volt. That's 12 volt AC, by the way. And when testing these light circuits, it is quite important for you to understand that a lot of multimeters will not read low voltage AC. So you will need a multimeter that is capable of doing that. Now I'm going to leave this one disconnected, and I have a multimeter here which basically will read AC voltage. First thing I would do is, if you're testing the circuit because both of your lights are not working, you could undo the transformer cap on the top, and we'll just take that off. Now you've got the feed on the left hand side going into the transformer. That will be 220 to 240 volts, and then you will have voltage coming out, which normally is somewhere in the region of 20 to 35 volts, say, because it's powering two halogen bulbs. I'm not actually sure why the voltage is slightly different to what the bulb's requirements are, 12 volts. I'm not that scientifically minded on these transformers, but basically if we plug it in now and turn the lights on, you can see the one light is working over there. And if we test this side now by just putting our two probes in, we have a voltage of 29.7. If you have no voltage here, you want to go up to the transformer. Make sure you'll have to change the scale, of course. And on the AC inside to the transformer, we have 230 volts. And on, change the scale back down. And on the output side, we have 30 volts. This way we know there is voltage leaving the transformer. If it's not coming down to here, it may be one of the wires that has got a bad connection or something. But as long as your transformer's putting out somewhere in the region of 30 volts to the two light fittings, you know you have, it's predominantly either the holders or the bulbs themselves that are faulty. I hope that answers your question there. I'll just plug this one back in. And again, I've done that live where I shouldn't have. Now, next we'll have a look at the printed circuit board. To do this, I suggest unplugging both lamp assemblies. And what we're going to do is remove this stainless steel band. So you need to tilt the machine backwards, and you'll find about six screws, I think, altogether. So there was 2 screws in each side and 2 at the top. This will allow us to take the whole housing off. Underneath here you have 2 screws. This now gives us access to the circuit board, and there's 1 screw at the bottom here. This will allow us to unclip the harness, and by unclipping all the wiring, we are now able to unplug she is a tight plug. We're able to unplug the electrics, and that's the circuit board. Now I'll go into a little bit more depth on this because I'll actually show you the circuit board itself. The circuit board is basically a switching gear that controls the 3 speeds of the motor and also controls the lights. And the circuit board could be a problem when it comes to the lights if the switching gear was not working correctly. Now the only way to test these is to actually open up the circuit board, and I'll undo the clips. I've got to take the front clips off first so you can remove the actual buttons. This will allow me now to open up the circuit board itself, and here is the circuit board. This is controlled by relays. Now, if you are of the nature where you're able to do electronics correctly, there are umpteen relays on here depending on which circuit, and that would also control each relay will have a function for turning the motor on or the lights on and so on. There are possibly components that may have blown in the circuit board that you are able to replace, but for the general public, most of the time you would have to replace the whole circuit board, and this would be quite an expensive circuit board. Now, if you wanted to get access to the motor, what you'll need to do is turn this up over on its back, and there's 4 screws going around here. You'll need to release some of the wiring to slide the motor out, and we can just undo these 4 screws. That will release the motor, and now you can slide the motor down through. You might need to pull the wiring through. This gives us access to the motor. Now this motor is a 5-wire motor, but there's a clip at the top. To take the motor off, you will need a pair of pin nose pliers, and there's 2 clips either side which you need to depress and then pull up, and the motor will come away. This gives you access to the motor, and this motor is looking like it's a capacitor motor. I think the capacitor lives in here. Okay, once you've undone all the screws around the motor, if you just press these clips and push the plug inwards, this will allow the outer casing to come off. Now, one of the most common failures with cooker hood motors, firstly, the fan sometimes can get damaged and therefore you're going to have to buy a complete motor. But on other occasions, your fan motor may be giving you a humming sound, but the motor's not turning. And this might be the capacitor. Now, the capacitor on this cooker hood is a 5UF capacitor. And that is replaceable. You would be able to get a universal capacitor about the same size. This is a Ducati capacitor and it's 5 microfarad. And you would just be able to replace the capacitor and that might save you an absolute fortune. Otherwise you have to buy the whole motor. And there we go, the capacitor could be changed, but with regards the wiring itself on this motor, I haven't got the schematics at the moment. Maybe one of the Hotpoint colleagues who watch this video could send us what the wiring configuration is on this, and I could put it on the bulletin at our FAQ on the website. So any further information on this machine, please visit the website. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember, all the links to the part and the tutorial, when I get further information on the wiring on the motor, I will put it on the website for you. The machine is all together. If you do need any filters, whether the mesh filter, the carbonized filter or light bulbs, or you need a component like the printed circuit board or motor or the capacitor, all these parts are available from us at the website. And as you can see, the motor is now all working correctly. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and the B is for boost, of course. And there you go. Thanks very much indeed for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Remember to support the website by subscribing to the channel and being notified of all the live streams that we're doing once a week. And if we really helped, you can always click on the donate button and buy Paul a beer. Thanks very much indeed for watching.